Today we are joined by Molecia Seasay, celebrity hairstylist and hair artist. Thanks for joining us today. Usually in all these conversations, I ask people kind of how they got started. Let's work backwards since you're the final installment. Did you ever think you would end up where you are today in the hair industry when you got started? And why did you think that? Why did you not think you'd be where you are?
So I grew up on an island called St. Vincent. When I started doing hair was just like a hobby, something I enjoyed doing. And so when I came here, it was sort of like, like a little hustle. I used to do hair, and then, people used to be like, "Oh, who done your hair?" And I was like, "I did my own hair." And they're like, "What? What do you mean you done your own hair?" And I was like, "No, I've been doing my own hair from whatever." And then I sort of never thought that would bring me to where I am now, because it's just where most people start off in fashion, that wasn't my end.
And so you came to the UK from St. Vincent.
Yeah.
You were doing your own hair and people compliment it.
Yeah.
What was next for you in terms of transitioning into professional hairstyling?
So I used to work at Boots Opticians, and being a mom at that point, I had 3 kids. I used to work at Boots part-time, and then I used to work from home doing braids and crochet and weaves and stuff. And I realized I was a lot more happier doing braids. And because I'm from High Wycombe, there's like quite a good community around here. And I don't know if you know like leigh-anne Pinnock.
Yeah.
One of my
And also, by the way, I lived in High Wycombe for 2.5 years.
No.
Yes. This is coming very full circle. Yeah.
What?
I lived in High Wycombe when I graduated for 2.5 years. Yeah.
Where Wycombe?
I lived what was the street? I lived on, because I used to work for a pharmaceutical company. So I moved so I could live near work.
Okay.
Yeah.
My
So I'm
daughter's,
very familiar.
I'm not far from.
Oh, no way. Small world.
Yeah. And so I used to do someone recommended me to leigh-anne. I think it was her sister, Sarah. And Sarah heard about me from a mutual friend. And leigh-anne was sort of like was the beginning of my journey in terms of getting into the celebrity world. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was just as simple as that. Had you been doing her sister's hair, and then that's where the recommendation came from?
Yeah. I did like a lot of our friends, and just like people here and there, and then sort of ended up doing leigh-anne's hair, and then that platform sort of organically grew.
Okay, cool. And how long ago was that? How long ago did that start?
I feel that was like 2015, 16.
Oh wow, I should have been hitting you up when I was in High Wycombe. I used to travel back to Cambridge from High Wycombe to get my hair done by my cousin.
What?
Yeah. That's how far I would travel by train.
What?
Sometimes, yeah.
So a lot of things I used to get, a lot of things I used to hear a lot from people like, I never knew you were here, but that's because I never actually put my work out there like that.
Okay.
I was doing hair, but I wasn't, again, because I was doing like, I had my job, so I just used to just do people who I know. So
okay, cool.
We don't really know much about me.
So what do you love? What do you love about hair?
Everything about it. Like growing up on an island, hair is everything. I don't think people realize how much Caribbean women love to do their hair. Whether it's, I know, like relaxing or getting their natural hair treated or trimming or braids or weave. Like, it's just everything about hair fascinated me. And since I was little, like, my cousin from the UK used to send down like all her secondhand dolls. And I used to use those dolls and just braid their hair. That's how I sort of knew I had a love for doing hair. I used to just braid it, do cuts, do all different things, and just create styles on the dolly's head. It's just something I love. And YouTube. Is it YouTube? YouTube started coming in at that point. And obviously people started putting videos on there. And that's how I started learning different styles. And I loved it. can't hear you.
Oh, I was on mute. So you transitioned into celebrity hairstyling. For those who might not be familiar with what goes into a shoot, whether it's for TV or for a brand campaign, can you share a bit more about what your general preparation looks like?
So it just depends on the brand or the shoot, and depends on the client. So I personally like to talk to the client themselves, so I can sort of get a picture of what they like and what they want on the shoot, what they're trying to go for, and then I sort of do a bit of homework and then create like a mood board for them and send it out. Like, okay, what about this? Because I like to know what you're wearing, what makes you thinking. Okay, I think this will be good with what your overall look, sort of thing, and then go from there and just sort of collaboratively decide what hairstyle they will love to do for that shoot or particular brand or whatever environment I'm in.
Okay.
And then I'm sort of having to make sure I have everything. Hair wise, making sure I'm always stressed. I'm like, I need this. I'm like, I need to go do this. And because I'm self-employed, I do everything on my own. So I'm having to make sure everything is on point.
Is there always time for you to go through this mood board stage with clients? What happens if you can't?
What happens if I can't? To be fair, I'm known for always being over prepared. So I'm always having loads of suitcase with me. I'm like, I always work with my tongs. I work with even if the person just want their natural hair, I still work with everything, because there might just be that one time I don't work with that one particular thing, and that's what they want to do. They change their mind to whatever hairstyle they do. So I'm always like,
okay. And is it always up to the client? And when I say client, I mean the person, individual that you're doing the hair of. Is it always kind of up to them what style hair they want, or can that be determined by like the brand, for example, that they're on the campaign of?
It depends on the brand. It just depends, and it depends, I guess, what level the client is on. Most clients that I work with, they do have a bit of input as to how they like to look, because especially if it means a lot to them. And a lot of people who I work with, they don't want to be like, I hate saying this word, but Europeanized. Like, they don't want to have the straight hair and weave. They just want to look their best self in their natural state, with their natural hair. So most people I work with tend to have a bit of an input. But the ones that do, to be fair, a lot of brands, they tend to, even though they do try, I had a few brands before, they're like, oh, but we saw this picture and we like to do this hairstyle instead. And the client's like, no, I am not doing that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned kind of you had clients who want to do more natural hairstyles, or at least kind of go away from what we've historically seen. It's particularly on Black and people of color, which is usually straight hair.
Yeah.
How have you seen in the past 5-6 years the attention and appreciation for textured hair come into play? Because right now it feels like everyone's talking about textured hair, but we know that wasn't always the case. So how have you seen acceptance and that change in your work?
It's crazy, because I can't even remember actually when it actually started, to be fair, because now it's so norm. But I feel it's like when you start seeing like a lot of influencers, to be fair, like started pushing out like having natural hair. I used to remember seeing a lot of Black hair influencers pushing out like doing natural, like twist out and bantu twists and having just your natural hair out, and a lot of women thinking, you know what, I don't want to have relaxed hair anymore. And that was like, I think that was like going back 10 years ago, because I remember when I had my big chop, a lot of my friends around that same time had their big chop, and they were sort of over the relaxed hair sort of movement. And I think a lot of Black women realized that like, our hair is gorgeous just the way it is. Like, we don't, that narrative of, oh, good hair and bad hair, and like, again, if it's one thing I would say growing up on an island, that is very strong. Like, I used to see girls in my class with natural hair and be like, oh my God, I wish my hair was like that. But because my mom thought my hair was too thick and too hard to handle, she relaxed my hair very young. And I remember saying, when I have my kids, I'm not touching their hair. Because I used to be jealous of the ones who had their natural hair. And when I had my own sort of, was able to do it for myself, just like, I'm not relaxing. So I feel like I don't know, but I think it's when a lot of brands used to. I feel like a lot of people used to call out salt freaks and stuff in products. So I think that's when people started switching. Like, hold on, these products aren't really great for our hair, and these things that they're putting in black products are actually making our hair worse instead of helping.
Yeah.
So it's like I can't actually pinpoint like a specific time, but I just remember it just sort of like walking around High Wycombe now. I used to be like, oh, couldn't really see anyone with an afro. Now you see all shapes. You see women with a flat trim. You see women with their big afros, and I'm talking about afros, not just I feel like sometimes people like to stereotype an afro with curly afro. There's different textures and different types of afros, right? So I'm seeing women with like they're kinky, coily, just embracing it all and not and holding their head high and just being like, yeah, this is my hair. It's on what it is, what it is. I have that moment. I had it yesterday.
To be fair, I had that moment this morning. So I again, Caribbean background. So as you said, Caribbean women love doing hair.
Yeah.
What that meant for me is my mum did my hair up until I was like 18. So I went to uni and I'd never washed my own hair.
What?
So I'll be honest with you, I am right now, I'd say the last couple of years getting used to doing my hair and embracing my hair. So I attempted a twist out for the second time to find out which products work for me. This is why I'm looking like this today. But I'm going for it. I'm trying to find out what products work for my hair texture. So like, and that's why this podcast is called Coils, Cash and Culture, because I don't know if people who don't have this hair texture realize how much culturally what we do comes from where we come from. You talked about natural hairstyles. I've looked at some of your work. Amazing. Like, I didn't even know hair could take shape in the way you've made it take shape. How did you learn to do braids and get them to that way? Like, what's your journey been in terms of upskilling?
You know what? So I used to think this was a negative. So I was to be fair, I still kind of have this mindset, but I'm realizing no, this is just my talent. I just learned like the skills that I've learned is just sort of because I have this passion for braids. A lot of braiders hate doing braids. I find it very therapeutic. I can literally get lost, and especially now I'm realizing like I just find it therapeutic doing braids, and I'm realizing this trend where people don't want that perfect braids anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like the poetic justice box braids. And I get it, like those are classics. You can never go back from a poetic justice type of braids. But people are realizing you can have box braids and it still looks natural like your hair, and you don't have to have specifically tempacks on your head.
Yeah. You know? And the edges don't have to be. I mean, we like the edges to be laid, but like they don't have to be like super laid, we
right? The edge. We like like not everything take it down. Sometimes just let it be. And my upskilling comes from like I never went to school for hair. So I studied computer science and I did hair. So like when my life sort of turned, it's just like hair was just something I loved doing on my pastime. And my upskilling is just practicing on my friends and having clients. And I was blessed in the sense I had a lot of clients who love to experiment. And I'm like, can we do this today? Or can we do that? And, sort of build that confidence in doing just realizing hair is like it can be molded and shaped and just turn into anything you want to create into. You know what I mean? Like that's one thing I love about black hair, that we can literally do anything to our hair and it's just amazing. And I try to tell that to my kids, like you can wear it anyhow.
Yeah.
There's no limit.
That's been a running theme. You really can change your hair like every other day and can be a completely different person.
100%.
You just mentioned you studied computer science. When I think of computer science, I think of people that solve problems. Do you actually think having studied computer science has anything to do with how you kind of look at problems in your career now and like what you do at all? Or do you not think it contributed?
I think I'm just quite creative. I don't know. I think I'm just quite creative. I feel like growing up, I was a bit of a nerd as well because I love to read. I think that's because I was like an only child. So books was like I say that now, not let my sister hear that. I've got a sister who's 11 years younger, but at that point I was an only child, so book was my go-to. But I don't know. I think I just always had a thing creatively for hair. I always
Okay.
looked at it differently.
And how do you stay creative? What inspires you to come up with new designs?
Um, just looking on the internet and like Pinterest and just sort of, especially with my girls. Oh, they keep me on my toes. They're always because I got 5 daughters and they all have
Wow.
different textured hair, and they're always wanting something new. And then, mommy, you should do this on me. Oh, what about this? Or like, for instance, like with Leigh-anne, like she's a client, but she's more like family to me. Like
Okay.
we're always looking at different hairstyles and how we can make it their own. So I have someone like Clara. Like Clara is an amazing client because we'll see something, but then we make it our own. And the same with Leigh-anne. Like she'd be like, "Oh, I like this, but we can make it ours. Like make it our own, not identical to the picture." And that's what I like to do. Like Pinterest. I don't know how you say it.
Pinterest. I think it's Pinterest.
Yeah, I like going on there and just sort of. It's like Pinterest is like my Instagram in terms of
Okay.
like I love going on there and seeing just different hairstyles. You know,
Okay.
like the boho-ness, and it doesn't have to be. Yeah, I know. I love Pinterest. Like Pinterest is like my thing.
It's fun. So now we know when we see any of your clients' hair on a red carpet
Yeah.
that your daughters have probably had it first.
They think I'm their personal hairstylist.
I love that. I
I
love
want
that.
them to look because they all can do hair. I was like, just reach to the point where you can do mine, please, because
Oh,
I'm over it.
return the favor.
Because I need my own hairstylist now.
What's one of your highlights in terms of a style you've done? Or was there a moment where you were just like, wow, I can't believe we pulled this off?
Oh my god. You know what? With every hairstyle I do, it's like challenge accepted. Does that make sense? So like,
Mm-hmm.
if someone sent me something and they're like, "Oh, you think we can pull this off? You think how would we do it?" I'm like, "Don't worry, we'll do it." Um. Okay, so I worked on Loki season 2,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the actresses I was working with is Wumi, and she's amazing. She has like an afro, and her character in Loki, she is like a surgeon, like an authoritative person, like a figure. So
Okay.
her hair can't be pretty; it needs to be, like in form, like sort of
Yeah. Like
yeah,
it kind
yeah,
of like control, like,
controlled, like stern,
yeah.
like everything needs to be
Mm-hmm.
like. So she has like a massive afro, and they were like, okay, how are we gonna sort of make it look? Because she done season 1 already, and she said before they had to cut her hair down. I was like, I don't want to cut your hair. We can achieve this without cutting your hair. So one of the designer who is Wakana, amazing. We're like, okay, let's make a makeshift sort of. It's like I don't know how to describe it. We made like a makeshift hair stabilizer thing from stockings and hangers and wide hanger, and we put the stocking over it, and so I've used that as a pushy thingy. Zap, zap,
Okay.
push her afro down. So we wet her
Oh,
afro,
wow.
push her afro down, and then blow dry on a low heat, and it basically caused that to make it look like she literally had a low trim.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So did it just pull the hair in? Like,
it literally just pushed her hair in. So we used, and I did that by just by using water, a blow dryer, that thing that we made, and like I think we used like Bumble, like that they're holding spray, just to
yeah.
keep everything in. And I used to make sure, like on set, because set used to be long hours, so I had to use, that the white band to go around the head to stick, just to make sure it stays in place. Oh, that was, that was something else. Try and error, just trying different products to see what agrees with her hair as well.
Wow. And which season did that hairstyle show up in?
I think she's in episodes, in all the episodes.
Okay.
So
Cool.
I was
Wow.
literally there every day for 5 months.
Oh, wow.
Doing this.
We talked a little bit around like trends and kind of the shift of folks kind of being like, be a bit, not like kind of like rough around the edges, don't be so neat and tidy. I read a story, like a piece of coverage recently that was around like the emergence of like kempt Afro hair, right? And Black women and women of color being like, actually, I don't need to be perfect all the time. What trends do you see emerging? Braids is having a time. Braids will always have a time. They're all timeless, but it's really having a moment. What beauty trends or hair trends do you think are going to be on the horizon for next year?
On the horizon, you know what? To be honest, I'm seeing a lot of women. I don't know if you notice it, but I've noticed it a bit. I've seen a lot of women having chunky-ish braids, but like like not just chunky braids, but like that sort of four or like
yes,
like like the four or like bubbled braids as well is a thing. And I was waiting for a minute for bubbles braids to come in because I love a bubble braid. And I'm seeing a trend of like people just having just like on red carpets having the four braids or six braids, and even having afro hair, like in terms of like the afro shaped or curled, and also the pixie slick, with the waves. I'm seeing all these hairstyles coming into like red carpets, and I absolutely love it because it's about time. It's about time.
It's funny. I've been seeing a lot of that style. I saw it this summer in New York. I saw a lot of women rocking that. I'm sure it takes a bit of time, but like I saw quite a few women actually going that way in terms of braids.
Literally, because I think people realize that I don't have to have a pony. Like people think if you go red, oh my god, we need to be kept. And it's like kept can still be your afro, your natural hair. Like I remember I used to have clients who were scared to literally go to work with the afro hair. They're like, oh no, they can't see me like this. It's like, but why? I used to go to Marlow, which is
I know what Marlow is.
Marlow.
Can we give some context to people who are listening that aren't from the UK?
It's quite a posh town, very small town, very posh, predominantly white and rich, and and I used to always rock my afro to work, and I used to have all sorts of things.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I can.
Oh my gosh! And I wanted to touch it. I'm like, no, thank you. Or when I have braids in, and they're like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? How is it attached to your hair? I'm like, it's just braids.
Just plaits.
It's just plaits.
Well, it's not just plaits; it's magic. But
magic.
You know what trend and I would love to get your thoughts on this. And maybe I'm thinking a bit too rogue.
Yeah.
I really feel just in my bones that when like we used to have plaits and the bobbles, kind of like Angelica in the Rugrats.
Yeah.
I feel like that is gonna be a thing.
It is a thing.
It's a thing, right? But you know what I mean? When I say a thing, I mean like I feel like it's gonna enter the mainstream hemisphere, 100%. Right?
Yeah, I did that look for leigh-anne as well, which she had like I feel like I did 6 of them.
Okay.
Like with braids, and then it goes into a bubbled hairstyle, like the bubble going all the way down. And even in her music video, she had it in her braids as well.
Think TikTok. I think that's what always happens. It happens, and then all that's going to happen is someone on TikTok, or there's going to be something where it's going to be like, have you seen this new trend? I just feel it. I feel it. It hasn't happened quite yet, but it's coming.
I know what you mean though, because I'm seeing it here and there. I'm seeing it like, especially there's a lot of like New York influencers as well. I see hairstyle quite a lot, and I'm seeing it come into play. I'm just seeing it spotting it like you just see it randomly.
There's almost this fusion of. I feel like folks are becoming more accepting that these hairstyles can work for feeling formal or feeling professional, like whatever you want to category and put it in. But there's something playful happening with hair right now.
100%.
We're entering like a playful era, or we're in the playful era.
Even like, I'll give you an example. Like braids with just using water wave hair, right? So people think water wave is just for fashion twist or crochet, but it's like I love experimenting with different textures because just to see the results, and I'm always amazed of the results because it's just like, oh, I didn't know what I was gonna do, but that looks good. Like you can even do braids, like 3-strand braids with Afro kinky hair, and that looks amazing. But just make it your own. I always tell people there's no right or wrong way in doing braids as long as you do it properly. You don't have to be specifically pre-stretched braiding hair. Make it your own. That's what sort of, make it your own. Make it like, as long as you're comfortable, right?
Yeah.
So
Is there any hairstyle that you would love to do more of, or you're hoping a client's going to say yes? Is there anything on your mind where you're like, I want to try this on someone?
I just want to start. I don't know, actually. I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason, and every step that I take takes me to another level. So I want to do everything, but I feel like I need to get the right clients. When they come, it will come. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen.
Okay, that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. But hairstyle, what I like to do, I want to do like a shoot one day with like with massive afro, or like all coily textured hair, but just huge, and just have like different textures in it. If that makes sense, like
I got you.
Like, just having like different. It's nice, but just having different shapes and textures. I think that will shoot. Like, I don't know.
Okay,
It's in my
well,
head. I kind of pictured it in my head.
I can see that. You kind of answered this a little bit, but are there any clients or brands where you're like, you haven't worked with yet, but you're like, it'd be cool to collaborate and create something?
I mean, I don't know if a lot of people say this. I would love to work with like leigh-anne. Like, she's like, maybe because she's an island girl too. I feel like, and she's quite. What I love about her, she takes risk with her hair. She's very adventurous and very creative when it comes to her look. She doesn't even care. She's just like, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna rock it, and it's the confidence in how she just, this is what I'm doing today. Like it or not, this is just me. And I love to say Zendaya. She's another person I love to work with. But my one of the really really someone on my list I really love to work is Solange. I just love her style.
Yeah. And she'll probably push the bro out. She'll probably wear the hairstyles that folks aren't ready to. Like, if something's going to come into play, she'll have worn it about 2 years before.
100%. And as an artist, like as a creative, I want to work with people that sort of reflect the work I do. So it's easy to say like Naomi Campbell, but she only wears wigs. But I want to work with people who are creative, like who sees things differently from your bog standard.
100%. Okay.
Yeah.
What excites you about the future of textured hairstyling in general?
What excites me? Being a mom of girls, what excites me is knowing that their future in terms of hair, it's going to be so much brighter than us. In terms of, they're going to have such a different view of hair, because they're growing up seeing women walking around with their hair texture, walking around with their curls out, and it just excites me to see the representation on telly. What excites me as well, and I pray that it happens, so when I worked for Disney, there's like a few of us there, and the actress who I worked with, that was the first time she actually had a full black glam team in terms of makeup and hair in the UK. Not in America, because America's quite advanced in terms of that, but in the UK. And I pray that, they start actually having skilled black women representation who know exactly to do black hair. And I said it because there's knowing how to do black hair, and there's knowing how to do black hair, because you can do any style. And I see a lot, there's a lot of artists out there who can do black hair, true, but they don't know how to take care of black hair. So they might do the style, but they're not using the right products. And not everyone's hair is the same. So my hair, me and this person might have the same texture hair, but we don't like the same product. Our hair don't like the same product. So it's learning and knowing what to use. And I see a lot of trial and error before, and I'm just like, yeah. And you just can't what's she doing?
It's interesting you say that we obviously in the UK we've got somewhere to go, because it's a while to go, because it's funny because I read these stories where it's like, or we didn't have someone on set, or we didn't have the right person. In what the reason it baffles me a little bit is if someone said tomorrow, I don't know, Taisha, you've got to be on a shoot next week and you've got to have 5 different hairstyles. I categorically know there's 5 different hairstylists I could definitely call that could do my hair, care for my hair. So it's like, if I know that, how does someone booking for a shoot not know that with the internet?
It's not even that. I feel like it's just, and it's sad to say, they just tend to stick to the people they know. And it's really frustrating because it's like, as you said, you can literally look online and you will have a list of people. But when I got this job for Disney, it wasn't because, you know, I applied for it. It was because I'd done someone's hair that was doing the movie, the director. And I just said it jokingly. I was like, if you guys need anyone, do let me know. And then I remember her hair designer at that point, I got like this message. I'm like, oh, such and such showed me about you. Are you free on these days? I would love you to do these braids for this actress. And I was like, okay. And I went there, and it's because of connections, me meeting that person, that got me to meet someone else that actually saw my work and loved it, and they met me, and I guess they love the vibe because I'm just me. I'm very, you know, I don't know. I can't be me. I just like to make people feel welcome, and this is just maybe it's the island in me. I'm just very welcoming. So it's just sort of, it didn't happen because someone came out and sought me. It was just because of connection. And because of that now, she's hired me for other jobs.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's just, that door is still very closed, and it shouldn't be because there's so many hairs, because I didn't know jobs like that existed. And that might sound really silly. I'm such a movie head. But
you didn't know.
I didn't know jobs like that existed. Like, especially for someone like me, I didn't think like, wow, like, okay, I know that they're getting their hair done, but who's doing their hair? Like, it's never came to my mind.
So it's probably like, it kind of reminds me of, I think I've kind of tried to look at industries and see how they're similar to others. It kind of reminds me of like the music industry. I feel like years and years ago, or maybe even like a decade ago, it was like you had to know someone to get an internship. Whereas now, I'm pretty sure if you go on like label websites, right, there's more like, hey, we've put the job ad up. So you at least your thing's getting screened. So maybe it's that like this industry or entertainment, music and fashion doesn't quite yet do that for hair, right? Particularly in the UK where there's some way to go.
There's a long way to go, to be honest. There's still quite a long way to go.
Which is why we're having the conversation. We're going to get there. We're going to get there because we're going to make it different for your daughters.
100%.
For sure. They're going to be like, Mum, what are you talking about? What do you mean that's how it was? I can't even imagine it. On the note of the future, for anyone who's aspiring to do what you do or to go into celebrity hairstyling, any advice?
My advice to anyone is don't doubt yourself and be dedicated to your craft. Don't seek for validation too, because I know people who are killing it in the industry and they do not care if you like their work or not, but their name's out there and they're being creative. I just keep pushing it, and don't ever think you don't belong in spaces and thinking, oh, do I deserve to be here? You deserve to be there. You're there for a reason. Just keep going, keep your head up, push your work, dedicate it, and just keep practicing and training on your skills. Just keep doing you. Like, don't ever feel like you have to change as well. I used to think I have to be a certain way. I'm just like, no, you booked me because of my talent, so you're gonna get this.
Okay. Yeah. And final question, for those who want to follow your work, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram under Momo's Hair, and I think I'm on Facebook, but I'm predominantly on Instagram.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for taking the time today, and thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. It was really nice.